On this all-new episode of Nightlife, the voices of your Golden Knights return to the city where their paths crossed for the very first time.
Three-part Dave and Shane special.
Yeah, there they are, back in Boston.
We sit down with Dave and Shane to relive some of the best memories of their respective careers in Boston.
I think you guys are the first ever team to win 3 Game 7s and win the Cup in the same year. Tampa 1-0 here, Game 7 in the conference final.
This is why I need Dave. He's got a way better memory than me for all this.
And I couldn't remember what I had for lunch 3 days ago, but I remember the importance though.
Plus, we catch up with VGK goalie prospect Cam Whitehead as he continues his hockey journey at Northeastern University.
I'm staying focused on being where my feet are every single day. As long as I'm focused on getting 1% better every single day and working towards that obviously goal.
I'm Ashley Weiss, and you're watching Nightlife.
Welcome into this special episode of Nightlife. Since the very first puck drop of the VGK organization, Dave Goucher and Shane Hnidy have called every second of the action. Both had very different paths to where they are now. Shane, of course, played in the NHL for several seasons, while Dave started out in radio in the Boston area. We sat down with them at TD Garden to relive some of those memories.
Shane, we both spent a lot of time in this building doing different jobs, and it's always a special feeling for me anyways to kind of walk back in here. But what are your feelings on this? You played for the Bruins twice, won a cup with this team. What's it mean for you to come back into this building?
Well, it's always going to be special. Right behind us is the last place I skated onto the ice in an NHL jersey to raise a banner that's up top over our right shoulder. So, I look around this rink and it's easy for me to remember certain goals that were scored because I didn't score a lot. Just great things in this building. And maybe the biggest thing, and I know we're both part of it, is when I came the first time traded was really the Bruins had fallen off the map. And then in 08, I think I got traded that 07-08 season. And just that was the turnaround in the organization that has just been on a roll now, kind of built the culture and the identity from that year forward, and it was neat to be part of that turnaround.
How about coming back though? So then you came back again in 11, right?
Yeah.
And to be part of that group, and a special group that obviously has a banner hanging.
It was unique because pretty much the end of my career with my age and everything, but they brought me back, and I remember working hard when first the talks came, I think in mid-January. They flew me out to check. I had severe shoulder surgery, and it was a 5 to 6 month rehab. So they came, checked it out, and then I remember joining the team in Vancouver, kind of a mini tryout for a few days, and then rejoined the team and finally got to play hockey again, be part of an incredible run. So always grateful to them for giving me that opportunity and to be part of that and those memories.
Did it click for you at somewhere along the way in that playoff run that you were nearing the end? Did you know that was going to be the end when you were in the middle of it?
Yeah, I knew it was. I knew it was an opportunity to come back and be in a veteran role, right? Where it made me help understand, maybe more team dynamics that, even if you're not going to play every game, you can have a role. And, I was a veteran voice. I was an outspoken, another voice in the room to help guys however they needed it in practice. I took every warm-up all the way through playoffs, whether I played or not. Just kind of saw the writing on the wall, and that's when I got the opportunity to get into what I do now.
The parade, I always think about when I come back here, and it's funny because it started, it's so much has changed in this building and around this building over the last, what's going to be 13 years since the Cup, but the parade started in the front parking lot where the old Garden used to sit. I just remember going down Boylston Street the opposite way from the way traffic usually travels. They shut everything down, right? And people were hanging out of trees and hanging off out of office windows. But what do you remember about? They still say it was the biggest parade any sports team.
Yeah, how many? It was
1.5 million.
1.5 million people. Yeah, it was massive bodies everywhere you looked. I remember being on the duck boats, pulling out of here. To me, the cool part was rolling into Fenway at the end of it.
Right.
Went down in the Sox clubhouse and celebrated with them, which was still strange to me because they were going to play a game. We were just celebrating, but they took part you know, all those memories here. As you said, I think they all kind of flood back every time you come here, and to see some familiar faces around.
David Ortiz, right? You get a jersey?
I did. That was one of the
Jersey's
coolest
Big
things.
Papi.
Yeah, it was one of the coolest things is I got sent a jersey. I wore number 34 here, so I got, it showed up. It just says, it's David Ortiz 34, and it's kind of cool. He says, you may be the sheriff, but I'm the law. Big Papi, number 34. So that was kind of a cool thing. I got that about a month after we'd won, and another piece to keep the memory alive.
Do you see the game differently now than you did as a player?
Well, the game's evolved, right? I think, you know, just as players and coaches now have to evolve with the game, your mindset, your thinking. I would say early on, I'm more of a traditional guy. You know, and rules, the game, the pace, the athletes, the style of game has all changed so much, so you have to stay with that. If you don't, you're going to get left behind, and I think that's something I noticed early on that, hey, you know, whatever I think, somebody may think different, so you have to be more open-minded. I used to be pretty hardcore about certain things. I do remember early in my career, there was guys I played against that I still couldn't stand. And I remember calling a game once, and I was between the bench. That was the closest I felt to ever jumping over the boards and getting back on the ice.
That would have been great.
That was early on, so I think that's all gone now. But certainly, there's still a lot more competitiveness and maybe that fiery, I guess, disposition I have. I could lose my cool easily when I played. It's gone now. Now I'm calm and happy all the time.
Yeah, now you're just a beacon of joy. No question about it. Good. It's good to breathe.
Yeah,
exhale.
Time for our first break on Nightlife. Coming up next, more of our sit-down with Dave and Shane.
It's always special, I think, to come here just because, said we both have so many memories.
Yeah.
Keep it locked. Nightlife on Scripps Sports will be right back. Welcome back to Nightlife. We rejoin our conversation with Dave and Shane about their careers leading up to the Golden Knights.
You know, growing up in Rhode Island, obviously a Bruins fan. Your life, I know your father was a huge Bruins fan. Probably passed that along. Bobby Orr, certainly a good reason to cheer for the Bruins. But what are your memories like? Not only coming here, but maybe just to Boston in general, and the old Garden as well.
Yeah. Well, being from Rhode Island, as you say, Shane, you know, they didn't have any of your own major league teams. So we had the Pawtucket Red Sox, who was the AAA team for Boston, and then eventually the Providence Bruins, the AHL team for the Bruins. So you adopt the Boston teams, and that's what we did. And the Bruins were always my favorite team because hockey was my favorite sport. My dad had got me into playing when I was 5. So I just remember the old Channel 38, watching all the Bruins games, or as many as I could as a kid, and then listening to Fred Cusick on TV and Bob Wilson, the great Hall of Fame radio announcer, both in the Hall of Fame. So, and here's what I had going for myself when I was probably 12 or 13. I would keep a spiral notebook and I would keep score of every Bruins game. Like, pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah. And I still have it somewhere.
So the OCD started early.
The OCD started, it never diagnosed back then. They used to just say, he's a little strange.
It's starting to all make sense to me now, what I see.
Exactly. That was kind of how it all started. And I remember calling games in the old Garden when I was in college, the old Boston Garden. That was a unique old building. Did you ever set foot in the old Garden?
Not,
yeah, it was, boy, it was, you know, I think they had, what, a 60-year run basically in that building, and maybe a little more than that, maybe 65 years. Smelled like an old building, right? Now, that being said, no air conditioning. No. You used the ramps to get out. There were no escalators.
Not quite the same amenities you have now.
It was very basic, but one of my prized possessions is one of my roommates from college, Rich Keshin, and I, we called the games for BU when I went to Boston University my last couple of years, and I have a black and white picture he gave me as a gift from the press box at the old Boston Garden. So it's kind of timeless, the black and white part of it. So never ever thinking that I would end up spending 17 years of my life coming to this building, but broadcasting Bruins games.
Before you got to Boston, the big break, Wheeling?
Wheeling, West Virginia. Blink, you'll miss it. Yeah, it's, I always joke, and I loved it there for 2 years, but you had to start somewhere, right? And I remember thinking about it, Shane, like I drove down for the interview 12 hours.
It was a quick drive.
They didn't, I remember they called me and said, well, if you can make your way down here. That didn't sound like they were flying me down there. So I drove down 12 hours, stayed overnight, interviewed the next day, drove back to Boston, and probably a month later, somehow, 6 weeks later, had the job.
It's kind of funny now, I'm just putting it together. You, like me, I started in my home province broadcasting. You started in your home state. You got the job for the Providence Bruins, American affiliate. And then to Boston. It's pretty, guy from here, cheered for the Bruins from Rhode Island. You're able to hit all those spots.
Pretty
of course.
cool.
How are Providence 5 years?
5
got a
years.
Calder Cup.
Yeah, so 7 years between 2 in Wheeling, 5 in Providence. And Providence was a lot of fun. It was, it's interesting, like the first year, I was not making enough money to go get my own place.
Yeah.
There's no money in it at that level, at that time anyways. Once kind of got through that part of it, you know, the team ended up, they had a couple of lean years and then won the Calder Cup in '99. And I was hoping, you know, maybe you try to move on after the team had won it. That didn't happen. Stayed another year, and then this radio job came open.
In 17 years, so favorite moments? Probably 2011. We won't talk 2013.
No, leave that
Anything else in those 17 years stand out? I know there's probably a lot, but can you break down a couple?
Yep, Shane beating up Matt Niskanen over here. That was one of them.
Just getting his kisser rearranged by Sheriff Shane Hnidy.
I think you guys were the first ever team to win 3 Game 7s and win the Cup in the same year. Tampa 1-0 here, Game 7 in the conference final.
This is why I need Dave. He's got a way better memory than me for all this.
And I couldn't remember what I had for lunch 3 days ago, but I remember the important stuff. So I just think being a part of that, I just more than anything, Shane, was happy that they got back to being relevant, because you got to remember, like, the Patriots had won 3 in 4 years.
Everybody won.
The Red Sox won twice back then. The Celtics had won it in '08. So the Bruins, by the time you guys broke through in '11, they were the only team that hadn't won it in a long time. And, you know, obviously we're able to break through.
So radio for 17 years, the move to Vegas, obviously TV, and seamless for you now that you've done it. What's been the biggest different change you've noticed now that you've been doing TV as long as you have?
Other than working with you,
that's a bonus.
Decent, which is we all have our crosses to bear.
That's right.
And the heavy makeup. When the Golden Knights came into existence, and our boss, Eric Tosi, who I worked with the Bruins, and you did as well as a player, he had gone to Vegas, and you know, we had a coffee before he left, and I said, you know, just kind of keep me somewhere in the back of your mind. No guarantees.
Planted the seed.
Yeah, but there were so many people that wanted these jobs and could do them much better than us. And when you know, he said, well, you would really leave. I said, yeah. I think it's time. And but you never know. And we never knew it was going to turn into everything it's turned into in such a short period of time. So I love it, Shane. Wouldn't change a thing. It's been it helps, I think, for both of us. The team has been so good. You know, if they were a team that scuffled for 6-7 years.
That's why I went. I figured they'd win in 6.
Cup in 6, you and Bill.
But it has been a good run.
So yeah, it's you talk less on television, which is kind of weird. But and some people probably like that. They don't hear as much as of me.
This is loud. I would have hated to hear on radio.
Yeah, I know. It's talking a mile a minute. But anyway, yeah, it's been unbelievable to be able to do what we do where we do it.
Very fortunate.
Time for another break here on Nightlife. Coming up next, we sit down with one of the Golden Knights goalie prospects, Cam Whitehead.
I think my mental game has improved a lot. The start of the year was, you know, we didn't have the greatest start, but learning how to get better every single day and not worrying about an outcome, doing the things that I can control.
Stay with us. Nightlife will be right back. Welcome back to Nightlife. With the Golden Knights in town to take on the Boston Bruins last week, the VGK production team paid a visit to Northeastern University, where Golden Knights goalie prospect Cam Whitehead mans the pipes. Drafted in the 4th round of the 2022 NHL Draft, Cam decided to head to college and become a Husky. We sat down with the young netminder, as well as some of his coaches, to get an insight on his game.
Quickly up the ice, sit at the doorstep, and a big glove save for Whitehead.
When you come to Northeastern, well, the Bean Pot is a big deal. It's a big deal to the school. It's a big deal to our president. It's a huge deal to the alumni. It's an interesting game because it's a championship game in the middle of the season against your rivals. There's a lot of pressure.
Peterson comes in, tries to get to it. He thinks it's in the net, but I think the leg strength of the goaltender Whitehead keeps it out.
It's really cool to play in the Garden, obviously a really special rink, and in front of 18,000 people. I think that's the most I've ever played in front of.
Hnidy gets it back. Fontaine shoots. He scores!
It was one of the most special things that's ever happened.
Gunnar Will Fontaine in overtime. Call it a modern-day bean pot dynasty here in the Garden.
You never really understood how much it means to a school until I think you win it. Yeah, it was just a really special moment.
Cameron Whitehead, freshman goalie from Lincoln in the USHL, Ottawa, Ontario.
Coming in on Whitehead. He goes to the forehand. Whitehead makes the save.
I think the most impressive thing about Whitey is I can honestly say he's gotten better every week that he's been here, which is impressive. His preparation is outstanding. You just see a kid that wants to be great.
Staying focused on being where my feet are every single day. I can't get there if I'm not present here. So as long as I'm focused on getting 1% better every single day and working towards that obviously goal.
Comes to their rink every day, trying to learn something new, get better at it, utilizing his size. And you'll see that in traffic, especially from flank shots, from point shots. The ability to find and locate pucks, especially being at his height, at 6'3", almost 6'4". He does a very good job of the ability to locate a puck through traffic.
He's on the ice for extra reps, goes on for goalie sessions, doesn't miss one. So he has the mindset of he wants to be a pro. And he's taken a good path. He was drafted, went back to Lincoln for his second year, didn't rush it and come in. So I think he's got the mindset of I want to be patient with this process, and it's more of a marathon than a sprint.
And I think my mental game has improved a lot. The start of the year was, we didn't have the greatest start, but learning how to get better every single day and not worrying about an outcome, doing the things that I can control.
Over the last 5 months, not only have we seen a skill set improve from a goaltender, but a mental standpoint as far as leveling up, maturation, and trusting himself in his own game.
He checks every box of what you want a Golden Knight to be. He's a leader, he's got great character, he comes from a great family, he's got a great work ethic, both on and off the ice. Seeing how he interacts with his teammates, in the weight room, in the locker room, helps out in the community. He's humble, confident, he's got every characteristic that those guys want to see.
I just want to be able to give the team a chance every night. Before every game, I always take a look at those banners, maybe see what I can do to add some more to those.
Time for one final break here on Nightlife. Coming up next, the final piece to the puzzle of Dave and Shane's story. Or maybe the first piece.
Oh yeah, let's tell that story.
Yeah. I'll ask it.
Don't worry, it'll make sense. Next, right here on Nightlife. Welcome back to Nightlife. The beautiful game of hockey has always been played on a sheet of ice. One would think that each rink's dimensions would be consistent across the board, right? Darren Millard explains that wasn't always the case in this edition of Did You Know?
NHL rinks vary in size, shape, capacity, and versatility, but the ice surface is the same in all 32. But did you know it hasn't always been that way? In the NHL's original 6 era, there weren't any rules that forced teams to have standardized surface size, resulting in different dimensions from one rink to the next. The old Boston Garden was the most extreme, several feet smaller in both length and width than today's requirements. It was something the Bruins used as an advantage, building their teams and planning strategy to take advantage of that uniqueness. Chicago Stadium's basement dressing rooms wasn't the only oddity there. The ice was 15 feet shorter than today's standards. Both buildings have long been replaced with a frozen floor that fits the 200-foot long and 85 feet wide standards. From competition and fair play across the board, standardized rinks make sense, but I kind of miss the bandboxes, like ballparks. Sometimes quirks can be cool.
I'll tell you what has been consistent. Dave and Shane calling Vegas Golden Knights hockey. Some may say the fruition of this duo was written in the stars many years ago. In fact, Dave and Shane crossed paths way back when in such spectacular fashion that you have to hear it to believe it.
Three-part Dave and Shane special coming.
There they are, back in Boston. Blah, 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 blah.
It's kind of strange how we're connected on this. You remember your first game you called?
I do. I remember a physical, hard-nosed defenseman that was made his NHL debut for the Ottawa Senators that night. Yeah, and you put the pieces of this together, Shane.
You got hired.
I would not have, after we got joined together all those years later, that my first NHL game was your first NHL game in this building. Sammy Sallow was a scratch from the
late
lineup.
scratch,
Was he
yeah.
sick or hurt or
Sick. I got the call like at 5:30 in the
Yeah.
morning, and coming in and doing it. I don't know if you were nervous, but I felt like Bambi on ice my first shift. I don't know. Were you shaking?
I was nervous a little bit. I remember thinking they can't drop the puck fast enough. Let's just get the game
Just
going.
get into
Let's
it.
get going, and then it's just kind of not just
It's kind of
hockey
funny.
game,
It
it's
is
a hockey
similar.
game.
Yeah, I just want to
You
get the
know,
first. Did anybody ask you to fight?
No, fortunately,
My
there was no
second
fisticuffs up
shift,
there.
Ken
Well,
Bellage.
Yeah.
He was like 6'4", big, tough guy here. It's like my second shift, he's like, "You want to go?" I'm like,
not right now.
Just let me try and enjoy this first game. I think we played you 2 games later. Here's my first fight out.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, now we can.
And I still have, I kept one and I gave one to my dad.
Ticket?
The ticket.
I have one somewhere too. It's probably with all the other stuff I can't find, but it's around.
I made like you could put it in acrylic, right, to preserve it. So I still have that.
More organized than me.
Yeah, as a keepsake. And who would have thought?
Yep.
Who would have thought 24 years later
Here we
we'd be standing next to each other?
That does it for this week on Nightlife. Make sure to tune in next week as we host the show from the annual VGK Gala. Until then, Knights fans, stay golden.